Welcome back to part 3 of the Power Max Mini Challenge from Donington. Now, before we see the turbos on the tarmac again, I thought we'd have a quick chat to one of the new drivers in the Gen 3 F56. He's certainly no stranger to racing, though, that's for sure. Charlie Butler-Henderson, hello.
Hello. Well, you make me sound grey and old. I feel it, actually, with the youngsters on the grid, I tell you, God.
Well, we've already got a race down today, and it was a great win for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a third on the Saturday, on the probably the pre-show weekend, and we had a race win today from 5th on the grid. Absolutely awesome. Didn't even think that we'd get a win. Podium maybe, but yeah, win was brilliant. First win since 1999, so was at Oulton Park in a British GT. So been a long time. So
what was it about Mini Challenge then? Why are you here this season?
A friend rang up who I sort of used to work with in sort of mechanics and engineering, etc., in a team, and he said, I'm looking at running in the minis. Do you fancy being our driver? I went, yeah. He then had a sponsorship issue, pulled out, and I picked the phone up and thought, well, why don't I just gain my own sponsorship, build my own momentum, and rang up Anthony Williams, who runs the championship, as you know, and here we are now, yeah. 2 podiums, and smiling, loving my racing, the sun's shining, with a great team, Oakfield Motorsport. We're having a good time at the moment. Fingers crossed that it continues.
It's time for the turbos to show us what they've got again. Now, Charlie Butler-Henderson is certainly going for a win to complete his weekend. He's sitting at 6th position in this reverse grid. So let's go over to Ben and find out how the rest of it's looking.
Thanks, Michelle. So this should be very entertaining. The reverse grid race always gives us plenty of entertainment. So it is Ryan Rode in pole position, alongside him Jono Brown, then Harry Volkard and Rob Smith from David Grady, and Charlie Butler-Henderson, William Phillips and Sam Osborne. Pretty strong 4th row. Urca Lindstedt heads the JCW runners from Steve Ruxton-Cocker, Alan Taylor and Hamish Brandon. Let's get ready for the action to get underway for the final time in the F56 and JCW class at Donington Park this weekend, and away we go. Sprinting towards Redgate Corner, Lawrence Davey already on the grass as he looks to make progress, but it's Ryan Rode who leads from Charlie Butler-Henderson and Rob Smith. Butler-Henderson making an absolutely excellent getaway. There is Luke Reed, who picks up the throttle coming out of Redgate, where against all expectations they've made it through without rotation. Downhill they come, and it's Ryan Rode who's trying to break clear of Butler-Henderson early on. Then it's Jono Brown in 3rd, so he's managed to get ahead of Rob Smith. Then it's David Grady, Lawrence Davey, and the rest of them. Neil Newstead once more towards the sharp end of the JCW class, but Hamish Brandon looking to run with him. And these F56s are devastatingly quick. These are potent race cars for the money, and you can see why this new class has proved to be so popular from the very first weekend. Ryan Rode trying to break clear of the rest of the field. This is a tactic we've seen time and time again in the reverse grid race in the Power Max Mini Challenge. But with Rob Smith and Charlie Butler-Henderson looming large, the success remains to be seen as Butler-Henderson has to concede to Rob Smith. That was a lovely move from Rob Smith. He was as late on the brakes as was physically possible, and it was just enough to sneak past. Then we've got the battle between Butler-Henderson now and Jono Brown. So Jono Brown coming onto terms with Charlie Butler-Henderson as they turn into Redgate Corner, just the outside. William Phillips and David Grady all boxed in behind the bright red car, and Lee Patterson. Lee, who has been very quick in the Power Max Mini Challenge over recent years. So down through the Craner curves they come, varying angles of attack. Very, very entertaining racing as David Grady looks to get in pursuit of William Phillips, as Luke Reed has a quick stop into the pits, then gets back on his way. And for a lot of the drivers, of course, the opening race weekend of the year is all about learning the car, finessing the setup, and then looking for bigger and better things as the season unfolds. We're looking for bigger and better things this afternoon is Alan Taylor in the JCW class, the inside Kevin O'Connor. I'm not sure that Kevin O'Connor quite realised that Alan Taylor was there. They're all scrapping for JCW class honours as out front. Ryan Rode doing a good job to keep Rob Smith behind him, but we're still in the relatively early stages as Lawrence Davey and David Grady swap places, climbing the hill, and David Grady trying to get onto terms with this leading group of cars. Well, Ryan Rode is, at the moment, absorbing much of what Rob Smith can throw at him. At the same time, Rob is an experienced enough driver to be thinking about the long game here, which is that if he just stays in the slipstream with Ryan Rode, they can pull clear of Charlie Butler Henderson and then fight out amongst themselves. Meanwhile, here is Hamish Brandon towards the front of the JCW class. Catch a glimpse of Clayton Kingman, chasing down 17th place. A little bit close behind, that's Jason Jeffries, who's just trying to squeeze through, gain some ground on Steve Ruxton-Cocker as we go back to the F56 cars and the battle for the lead of the race overall. And Rob Smith still in pursuit of Ryan Rode. Rode at the moment hasn't blinked, but he's had one or two wayward moments, and he gets a little bit sideways and kicks up the dust and runs wide, and that's going to give Rob Smith the chance to challenge for the lead. Ryan Rode won't lose any more places because he kicks up a gigantic dust screen for those behind. So it's then Charlie Butler Henderson, John O'Brown, Lee Patterson and David Grady, who has shaken off Lawrence Davey. Who has Lawrence got in on his tail? I think it's Sam Osborne. Indeed it is. Osborne, another stalwart competitor in the mini challenge, and that's a big bump across the curb for Lawrence Davey. He'll have felt that. He's possibly just knocked the car out of gear, so he pops into the pits as Hamish Brandon continues his scrap with Erkan Lindstedt at the front of the JCW class, and Lindstedt makes a mistake and runs out wide at the old hairpin, and that is going to promote Hamish Brandon ahead of the Finnish driver. There is Lawrence Davey consulting. Well, they certainly built them strong, because that was a big bump that Davey took over the curbs. He's got to be mindful of the pit lane speed as he rumbles along and gets underway. William Phillips is busy applying the pressure to Chris Boone. Boone in the silver and red car. Phillips the green machine as they come towards us. The tail of the car a little bit darker. So around Redgate corner, the pair of them come. And William Phillips all over the tail of Chris Boone. Meanwhile, Lee Patterson is in for a little bit of investigation. Phillips closing up onto Boone and looks to squeeze through, and indeed he does. He just forced Chris Boone to brake a little bit later than Chris would have wanted. As a result, Chris ran wide off the racing line, and William Phillips able to slip past and take the place away as we begin to head towards the closing stages of the concluding race of the Power Max Mini Challenge weekend for the JCWs and F56 cars. As Phillips and Boone continue their battle. Great stuff in the F56. Not only has it proved to be a very quick car, it's also given us some great racing. Meanwhile, Neil Newstead has moved clear of Erkan Lindstedt as well in the JCW class battle. They've got Hamish Brandon now some way up the road ahead of them, as Lee Patterson, pleased to report, gets back on his way. Some finding the gear he wants, and then rolls off down the pit lane, back into the action. Well, here is our race leader, Rob Smith, as Charlie Butler Henderson now looking to line up the move on Ryan Rode. So Rode, who has really capitalised on the reverse of the grid, now under threat though for that second place, and Butler Henderson draws alongside. Rode tries to close the door, but Butler Henderson, I think, will have the momentum. Very fair driving from both of them. They give each other plenty of racing room, but Butler Henderson should, now they give each other slightly less racing room, door handle to door handle through the crane that curves, but Henderson will have the inside line for the old hairpin, and therefore finally takes second place. Meanwhile, Neil Newstead and Erkan Lindstedt are scrapping over second place in the JCW class. Well, where do you want to look? It's one of those races again where almost every car seems to be embroiled in a very close battle. House of Hollywood into the crane that curves. Neil Newstead might just have enough over Lindstedt, at least for the next few turns, particularly as it was through the old hairpin where Lindstedt made the error a couple of laps ago. No such concerns as the checker flag is readied for our race winner, Rob Smith. He scores victory at Donington Park from Charlie Butler-Henderson, and Ryan Rode completing the F56 rostrum. A look then at the final results with the win for Rob Smith from Butler-Henderson and Ryan Rode, David Grady in fourth from Sam Osborne and Chris Boone. Boone just seeing off the challenge from William Phillips. Then the JCW class, it was Hamish Brandon who won it from Neil Newstead, and Urkel Instead with Kevin O'Connor fourth, clear of Alan Taylor. So for the final time this weekend, the opportunity to celebrate on the rostrum, Donington Park, our JCW class winner Hamish Brandon onto the top step of the podium, and then Rob Smith, our F56 and outright race winner in race 3.
Fantastic result. I sort of felt like I was owed a win a little bit after the problems we had in race 2, and managed to get a mega start, mega first lap. And when it was me and Ryan running at the front, I was quite happy with a 1-2 for Accelerate, but he just made a little mistake at Coppice. From then it was just a case of bringing the car home. Built quite a comfortable gap, and yeah, can't believe it, over the moon.
Hamish, you've done it, you've got your win on the first weekend of racing. You must be so pleased.
Yeah, I'm kind of a bit speechless, to be honest. It's just been a dream start, really. I mean, we haven't done any testing, so we came here just really looking to try and get to grips as quick as we could, and to get a second, a third and a first, it's, you know, I couldn't have done much better, so I'm absolutely delighted. And, you know, a new team, we're not with Accelerate this year, we're in Mini, so massive thanks to them. It's, you know, really, it's just, we're just one car focusing on JCW, and, you know, all credit to them. Yeah, I can't thank them enough. It's been fantastic, so well done all the lads, and it's a victory for all of us, so brilliant.
Championship points at the end of the opening weekend of the year then, with Rob Smith leading the way in the F56s, clear of Charlie Butler-Henderson, and David Grady with Ryan Rode in fourth. The JCW runners, Neil Newstead just clear of Hamish Brandon, with Kevin O'Connor a 10-point advantage over Alan Taylor.
Hamish Brandon leaves Donington a very happy man indeed, and so he should. Great stuff as well from Charlie Butler-Henderson, Rob Smith, and the newer drivers that we saw with Ryan and Urkel as well. Really fantastic racing, and it's not over because we've still got the Cooper class to look forward to. Join us again after the break.